what's going on? Welcome along to AFC Game by Game, and doing a bit of an unscheduled video, to be honest, because I was looking through the comments on the video that I uploaded to Arsenal Fan TV. Like, if you don't know the reviews I do, I get them all uploaded to Arsenal Fan TV as well. And I noticed that there was a recurring theme of Wenger out throughout the whole comment section, and it was on my own video a bit as well. But I kind of just wanted to discuss that, really, whether I'm a Wenger in or Wenger out person. And if I'm honest, I don't particularly want to, if you've watched my video since day one, then you'll know that I've never really voiced my opinion on whether I'm a true Wenger in or Wenger out person, as it were. I like to kind of remain on the bridge. I'm obviously going to praise the team, praise the manager, give them credit when it's due. If we get a good performance, if we go on a run of results like we win the FA Cup like we did last season, obviously I'm going to give him praise. But then again, I think Wenger is someone that his tactical nous at times is slightly wearing off. First of all, as well, just before I really get into proceedings, just wanted to say apologies for the poor video content as well, the poor lighting and all that. I just couldn't really be bothered setting up my camera, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, I mean, Wenger in or Wenger out, that's kind of the main topic that I wanted to discuss throughout this. And if you want my stance on it, then like I've already said, I'll give him praise when it's due, but I think there are a lot of things that are going wrong this season, and at the end of the day, it does come down to bad management at times. So first of all, not strengthening in summer, that was blatantly obvious. If you're going to bring in someone with the caliber of Alexis Sanchez, then surely you've got to suffice in other areas of the pitch. You've got to bring in, I don't know, a defender, a central defensive midfielder, and that's exactly where we've been exposed this season. I mean, we're playing, when you think about it, our second choice left back as our first choice centre back. That speaks volumes. That is just absolutely ridiculous for a club of Arsenal's stature. Should we really be in that situation where we're having to do that, playing Nacho Monreal as our first choice centre back because we don't have adequate cover? And even if it's not Nacho Monreal, it's going to be Callum Chambers, who I really, really rate. And this is where I'm going to get into the bit of where Wenger's tactics and lineups especially really do elude him at times. I mean, I think playing Monreal ahead of Chambers as a centre-back is just a ridiculous move. I think Chambers, although he has had a couple of good games at right-back, certainly not taking that away from him, I think his better performances have come when he's been a centre-back against games in Everton, Palace, those kind of games, and he's just looked fantastic in that position. And Man City especially in the Community Shield. So I think it's only fair that we continue to play him in that role. And he's got the build for it as well. He's got all the qualities that a centre-back possesses. Sorry, there's fireworks going on yet again. But Monreal playing ahead of him, it doesn't make any sense to me. And Bellerin, he's a player that has just looked so promising this season. I know he's had a couple of mishaps. I mean, what do you expect? He's a 19-year-old with barely any experience behind him in the Premier League. But wherever he has played, he's looked absolute class. When he's played against Hull, when he's got a couple of minutes off the bench. I mean, I think he's looked absolutely, well, I wouldn't go as far as to say he's looked phenomenal, but he certainly looked like an exciting prospect that we've got on our hands. I'd thoroughly like to see him continue developing the Arsenal setup. And I think it would just, there's no balance in that back four as well, no balance whatsoever. And what you're doing there is it's real makeshift, because Per Mertesacker, he's another one that's come under so much criticism this season. I think it's rightly deserved. He's suffering this World Cup hangover, which I think is a horrible term, to be honest. He's a paid professional. He shouldn't be. It's not really an excuse, is it really? But yeah, I would have expected more from him, and I think. Looking back at the tactical awareness thing, having to play him out on the right hand side of the defence. Say you've got your two central defenders and you're playing Mertesacker as the right centre back and you're playing Nacho Monreal as the left centre back. Predominantly Mertesacker plays the left centre back for us, and then you've got Koscielny on the right hand side. That's worked amazingly for us the past couple of seasons. And Mertesacker without Koscielny, I've said it numerous times now, it's a yin and yang kind of thing. Another term I don't particularly like to use, but in this case it is kind of true. Those two complement each other beautifully, and when they're not playing together, it just, Mertesacker looks lost, he looks vulnerable, he looks inept, and I hate to see that from him. But another couple of tactics that have gone so badly wrong for us, and I wouldn't really be making this if it wasn't for the disappointing draw we had against Anderlecht, conceding 3 goals, again relating back to a club of our stature. We shouldn't be doing that, not this season, not when we've got the squad we've got. It's not good enough. I mean, can you honestly say that Matthew Flamini is good enough in his current Arsenal team that should be pushing for the title? Realistically, I don't think we're going to win the league, but that's another completely different topic entirely. But Matthew Flamini is someone that I think is well past his sell by day now. He was good for a season, don't get me wrong there. He did a really good job for us as a makeshift. But now he's just clutching at straws really. It suffices me how we didn't bring in a central defensive midfielder. There were people out there, and we had the funds to do it. So why didn't we strengthen it? I've got a lot of respect for people like Mikel Arteta. I mean, I know that he's technically still being played out of position because he's not a central defensive midfielder. But I think whenever he has played for us this season, although he's 32 now and injuries are really catching up with him, as we saw, he went off in Anderlecht injured there with a hamstring injury, which is again another huge blow for us. But you know, we're injuries again. That's another problem we've got. Players constantly getting injured. But all of this comes down to, at some point, it has to come down to bad management. I mean, how many of these players are just getting injured, you know, in training sessions? I mean, how many times has Abu Diaby just got injured in training? That's happened on, I don't even want to think about it, to be honest, but it's happened so many times. So many times I don't want to, you know, too many times. One other thing as well that I think Arsenal is really guilty of is having too much faith in certain players. And although this is something that, you know, I can completely understand, and I sympathise with him in the sense that he wants to always get the best out of his players. But there are times when some players will be playing incredibly poorly, and he will just continue to persist with them on the pitch. And one thing I really don't think that helps, that he is so guilty of, is playing players out of position. Now, the first prime example I'm going to relate to is Andre Arshavin. Came to us as what was a second kind of striker, centre attacking midfield kind of player, but utilised him on the left hand side. Had a good first season with us, admittedly, but then it kind of went downhill from there. And it's with Mesut Ozil as well that he's doing a similar kind of thing, and it's not totally the same because he was only playing. He plays him on the left when, if we've got injuries in other players. I can understand why he's doing it as well, so he can accommodate Ramsey and Wilshere into the side. But then again, it's 42.5 million quid on a player to play him out of position and then not get the best out of him. That doesn't make sense to me. It's absolutely ridiculous why you'd do that. You would either drop Ramsey or Wilshere. I know they're both fantastic players, of course, but this guy cost us 42.5 million. He is our record signing by some distance, and he should just. Our team should be evolving around him. And the fact that it's not is just frustrating to see. And Mesut Ozil is certainly a player that is yet to hit the heights that I think every Arsenal fan expected of him. But I think he's only going to do that when he's got the players around him, which you could say he has now, with Walcott coming back, with Sanchez coming back. But it's typical that he's got injured as well. And you know, I do feel sorry for players like Alexis Sanchez when they've got to play with people like Mathieu Flamini and Nacho Monreal at times, because they're not people that are going to take it to the same kind of level that Sanchez is. He's just an absolute world-class player. And that's another thing that frustrates me about Wenger as well, is poor substitutions. And another, you know, before I get into this, team lineups, I just haven't really understood. The Spurs game, dropping Sanchez in the North London derby are what I would regard as our biggest home game of the season, and you're dropping Alexis Sanchez for that, the player that has actually he's been on fire for us this whole season. It just eludes me. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. But then I'll get on to my next point, or the point I was just going to discuss about substitutions. Completely, I think this has been a problem ever since I've watched Arsenal substitutions with Wenger. The fact where he just gets them so late in the game, so wrong. And when we were 3-2 down yesterday against Anderlecht, and he brought on Podolski and Rosicky, and he takes off Chamberlain and Cazorla. And no, did he take off Cazorla? I can't remember. He took off someone. But I'm just trying to think, how are these players going to change this game? How are they going to make our situation more defensive, more stable? And the fact is they didn't. Rosicki's a 34-year-old player. I absolutely love the guy. I'm one of Rosicki's biggest admirers. But in that situation where we're trying to stoke up pressure from Anderlecht, what is Rosicky going to do? He's got no pace about him. How is he going to bolster our defensive stance in that game? Podolski as well, it's not in his nature to defend. That's not me criticising him. He's just not the kind of player that's made for defending. He just doesn't know how to do it. I think the obvious substitution there would have been to bring on Theo Walcott. He's someone that's going to track back. He's someone that's going to protect Callum Chambers. And he just left us so vulnerable. And it worries me how Anderlecht were able to cut through our defence like butter yesterday. It was so easy for them. It worries me going into that game against Swansea as well. Like, what's someone like Bonnie going to do? I mean, what's someone like Angel Di Maria going to do when we come up against them in a few weeks? It is a definite cause for concern. But then again, I think Wenger's got a lot of positives, and I haven't really discussed them yet. In fairness to the guy, I think he's done an awful lot for this club. We wouldn't be where we are without him. And you might argue, where are we now? We're getting fourth season after season after season after season, which, as an Arsenal fan, I've got to say, gets depressing at a point, because it's more of the same, and we seem to be in this kind of cycle where qualify for the Champions League, mess up the group stage, finish second, get knocked out by Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, repeat that season after season after season. And I think, in a sense, we were fortunate to win the FA Cup last season, but we did put a lot of hard graft and effort into that, so I don't want to demean that in any sense. I'm really pleased we won the FA Cup. That was one of the best days of my life as an Arsenal supporter, to be honest. But it's just, I still think we're in this cycle, this process where we're not improving. We're stagnating. If you know what I mean by that. Like, it's like they say, insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again. I mean, I don't want to look at it in that sense. I don't think Wenger's gone insane just yet, but I certainly think there are a lot of things that he has to change. I don't think he's evolving with the game. I think the game is evolving around him, and he's not moving forward with it. And you've got to say that he doesn't know how to shut up shop in a game, which is something that frustrates me as well. It's all attack, 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 attack. We're not like, you know what, we've got a 3-0 lead, let's park the bus, let's sit back. Park the bus, another term I hate to use, but sit back, defend the game, sit out, have a good defensive performance. We can't do that. We're always an attack-minded team, and that frustrates me a little bit as well. And it doesn't help when you haven't really got a defensive player to bring off the bench. I mean, Chelsea, look at them. They've got either Ramirez or John Obi Mikel that they can bring off the bench in replace of someone like Fabregas or Oscar to bolster their defensive stance in the game. We don't have that. We've got Flamini that we can bring off the bench, and what's he going to do? He's incredibly reckless, and fair enough to him. He does have the odd good game, Flamini, but he's not a player that I can defend to a great extent. But like I said, I was getting onto Wenger's positives. The history he's built around his club, we wouldn't be in the Emirates Stadium without him. He is a superb gentleman in that sense, and I don't think we should be looking at him in a negative light, in a sense. I will never look at the guy in a negative light after all he's done for us, but I think if we consistently play in the way that we do, in this lackluster style of performance, then fans are going to turn against him if they're not already. The split is massive, and it has been for seasons now between fans. I don't want to openly say my position on him, but I think it's something's got to change. I think something with regards to transfers, policies, tactics has to change in this club, and I think it does need a bit of a change, but it's a big call. It's a big call, and I can't see Wenger getting sacked. He signed. I don't think the board would have the bottle to sack him, but I'm not saying I want him sacked. I think he can really rectify what he hasn't even done anything. It's just we've had a couple of poor performances and results recently, but you've got to remember we've had about 8 first-team players injured, for God's sake. So let's not be too hasty to jump on the Wenger out bandwagon. But I can completely understand and comprehend why people want him out of the club. But then it brings you on to the question of, who do you bring in? Roberto Martinez? Why would he want to leave Everton? Why would Jurgen Klopp want to leave Borussia Dortmund? What are these players going to bring to our team that Wenger already hasn't done? And you're taking a massive gamble as well, because Wenger gets us in the top 4 season after season after season. But can you imagine the meltdown there would be if we were to finish 7th or 8th in the table? I mean, when United did it, it was bad enough. But Arsenal doing that, Jesus, with our fan base across social media, that would be insanity. I don't particularly want to think about it, to be honest. It's bad enough when we're fighting with Tottenham to get 4th, but like I said, I think a lot's got to change. I think Wenger, I'm not calling for his head just yet. I think he's got to change the way he approaches games, tactics, substitutions, that kind of stuff, and he's got to stop overplaying players, delve into the squad a little bit, wasting Joel Campbell as well, and putting Sonogo in the team ahead of him. That's just something I can't comprehend at all. But those have been my thoughts really on that kind of topic. Wenger in, Wenger out. Like I said, I'm on the bridge between. If you have enjoyed the video, give it a like rating. But really, I'm not too fussed about that kind of thing. I just wanted to kind of raise awareness, give my take on the proceedings, as it were. Leave your thoughts on whether you're a Wenger in or a Wenger out kind of person, or like me, whether you're on the bridge. If you enjoyed, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, thank you for watching, guys.